I find it amazing that I was even able to come up with all of this and even still modify this when Game Freak pulled more bullshit out of their ass. If only they could stop. Hello everyone, this is VG Master 2, back with another video that was supposed to be for Pokemon Month. It's another theory, what a fucking surprise. But this is actually the theory I had promised at the end of my Sun and Moon review. That means today I'm going to be discussing my theory on what's actually happening with the legendary Pokemon of Alola. All of them. Also, spoilers for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And remember, if you like any part of this theory, you can use it as your own headcanon. Okay, so before we start, there are a few things I must address. The first thing is that I'm aware that Game Freak is trying to pass most of this off as shit from another dimension. If you know me, you would know that I detest that shit and will have none of that. This theory is a loophole around that idea. The second thing ties into that I believe that all the games take place in one universe and occur one after the other with pairs happening at the same time. So basically what the manga says. Third thing, for this theory, and you can assume all my Pokemon theories about the Pokemon world, I assume that all non-man-made legendary Pokemon were created by Arceus or are at least related to him in some way. The fourth thing is, I'm aware that these theories could be potentially disproven in an instance from legends stated in the games. However, I believe we need to realize that they are only that, legends. We're far too comfortable with believing that all legends in Pokemon are true. While the creatures in these legends exist, that does not mean every single legend happened. Legends can be wrong, as we've already seen with Pokemon. Kyurem was said to be a Pokemon that came from a meteor, but no, he's actually another being that resulted from the original dragon splitting. And Game Freak could always change their mind. So for this theory, assume that at least some of the texts about the legendaries in Generation 7 are wrong. With all that said, let's begin. Now, this theory is another one of my semi-hypothetical potential situations, so if anything sounds like fanfiction, that's too fucking bad. I will be doing this theory in sections according to the groups of legendaries. We'll be starting off with the group I call the Light Trio, Solgaleo, Lunala, and Necrozma. I believe these three Pokemon were created by Arceus at the same time as a trio. The three of them were born to represent the expulsion, reflection, and refraction of light, as well as likely be literal, living beacons of light and hope for the creatures that would come to live on the islands that became Alola. Now, we'll be getting back to them in a minute, as the first three groups intertwine quite a bit. That being said, the second group is one I like to call the UB Herd, or more specifically, the first UB Herd, but we'll get to that later. This group consists of Nihilego, Buzzwole, Pheromosa, Xurkitree, Celesteela, Kartana, and Guzzlord, with all of them not having been born at once, but in close conjunction to each other. Arceus, likely having the ability to see into the future, since he's God, probably saw that humans were going to be a thing, so he assigned each legendary in the UB Herd a different job they would have. Nihilego would not be the parasite she is only thought to be, and would actually educate the other living creatures on toxins. Buzzwole and Pheromosa would teach them physical combat using arms and legs respectively. Xurkitree would teach them about electrical manipulation, like wiring. Celesteela and Kartana would educate them on using blasters and blades respectively. And Guzzlord would help by eating overpopulated species to balance them out? Let's just say that. I'll get back to them, but now I must introduce the third group of legendaries, the Tapu Quad. Or if I could have my way, the Asshole Quad. I mean, think about it, they are all assholes. Tapu Koko is extremely picky and bitchy. He forces people to fight for his amusement, and he angers really fucking easily, only to forget what angered him a second later. Lele is extremely cruel but doesn't give a damn, and the scales that heal people that she loves to throw around can actually kill people. Bulu is lazy until you anger him, and then he's the most fucking merciless shit in existence. And Feeny is an untrusting bitch who kills people who need her help by putting them through a thick fog that suffocates them. Taking all of this into account, it wouldn't at all be surprising if they were told that their job was to protect the islands, and then they got all power crazy and bitchy, right? Because in this scenario, that's exactly what happens. When the Tapus found out there were other creations of Arceus on Alola, they saw them all as enemies and conspired against them. They eventually convinced Arceus that the others were threats and needed to be banished to another dimension, a la Giratina style. However, Solgaleo, Lunala, and Necrozma found out about this. Necrozma hid inside the earth, while Solgaleo and Lunala do something quite different. At the location that would become the altars, Solgaleo and Lunala release their power as light energy and condense their physical form, becoming Cosmoem, but condense their form even further into Cosmog. Two identical twin Cosmogs, so that if anyone would go after one of them, they had a 50-50 chance of actually capturing the right one. Unfortunately, the other legendaries did get banished, which is why it looked like they came from the other dimension. And before I go further into the legendaries, I'm gonna take a brief moment to explain my theory on the Ultra World. I believe that it is actually one big world. However, there are specifically made portions of the world made with each legendary in mind. All the multiples of legendaries, well, let's say they're illusions. Perhaps Nihilego mastered a form of mirage making through refracting light through the rocks of their world. We'll talk more about the Ultra World in a bit, but now let's quickly talk about Marshadow. Not much to him. Marshadow was made after the others were banished to act like a secret fifth guardian of the islands. But of course, Marshadow decided not to do that and instead decided to hide away from the rest of the world. Now let's get into the next group of legendaries, which has the most hypothetical situation by far. Zeraora and the second UB herd. That's right, I'm grouping them together. Now, I put Zeraora first for a reason, as he was made by Arceus after Marshadow, but before the other legendaries. These legendaries were Naganadel, I'll get to Poipole later, Stakataka, who isn't made of multiple beings in this case, and Blacephalon, who needs no extra explanations because she is perfect. Arceus made them because of his guilty conscience. He didn't want the Tapus to find out about them and decided to have Zeraora help him shield them, resulting in part of the reason people lacked knowledge of them until Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and needless to say, they failed. The Tapus did find out about them. The four newest creations of Arceus were then banished, and the Tapus eventually spread lies about the UBs to create fear in the people, as well as legends about Zeraora. And yes, Zeraora is being considered an Ultra Beast, though he wasn't supposed to be. Since the Ultra Beasts mostly have the same ability, the same metallic sound in their cry, and stats consisting of prime numbers, and Zeraora has none of those, then he might not be a full-fledged Ultra Beast. But it's not like any of those things would matter in the universe of Pokemon. If anything, Zeraora could have only been trapped in Ultra Space for a few years, though I think the alternative would make him more interesting. Either way, anything would be better than, "He was there, we just didn't know he was." Anyway, these four were actually sent to a second UB world. Yes, I'm saying there's two. It would only have 4 portions, but Zeraora was not supposed to go there. The 4th section was for someone else, Necrozma. Necrozma's portion was made to be a place Necrozma could go if he ever came above ground and needed somewhere to hide. However, like Sun and Moon states, he did not wake up for a while, and his portion was eventually turned into Ultra Megalopolis. This is where I transition to the humans. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon wants us to believe that there are humans that come from other worlds. But I beg to differ. Let's fix up that shit and start off by talking about the Ultra Recon Squad. Looking at the Ultra Recon Squad, it appears that the 4 of them are a family. Zossie and Dulce are the children, and Fico and Solaria are the parents. Or they're siblings and the kids belong to one of them. Now, while it's said in the games that they had ancestors in their world and that there were a lot of people, I think the games are just pulling that out of their ass. I mean, we never actually see people in that world other than them, and there's like 3 buildings. So I say that they were lying about that to make them sound more genuine, and they're actually from Earth. Either Fico, Solaria, or both were scientists, not necessarily from Aether. Let's say that Dulce was young and Zossie wasn't born yet. While experimenting, they opened up a portal and got sucked in and trapped there. In the second UB world, there wasn't really anywhere suitable to stay. Let's just say Naganadals is in a vast empty meadow with a hive, Stakatakas is ruins or mountains, and Blacephalons is a sewer system. Or not, I don't know, though what else could it possibly be? Eventually, they made it to the area that had been designated for Necrozma. They decided it was a safe place, so they stayed there and named it Ultramegalopolis. With their scientific prowess, over the years they managed to use the resources of the area to create the buildings. They built the tower using the light stored in the prisms to power it, and multiple houses, leaving the other houses in case other people got trapped in the world and found the area. Basically, what I'm saying is that they lied about hurting Necrozma, and Necrozma was created in his Dark Prism form. Or he was born in his Ultra form, and he only lost his power when going into the ground. Eventually, the Recon Squad became powerful enough that they went after Naganadal and captured him. They drained him of his power to the point that he physically changed, and the Recon Squad named this new form Poipole. The reason why the Ultra Recon Squad don't look like they're from Earth is because they adapted to the new world. That's all well and good, but then Game Freak went and decided to put other humans in 2 of the other UB areas, which, in accordance to this theory, are both part of the first world. Let's talk about the easiest one to explain, the humans in Kartana's area. There are only 3 people in that area. They are all identical old men who appear to speak Japanese. Explanation? Easy. They were either 3 brothers or just 3 friends who got sucked into a wormhole in some sort of accident. They had been staying there for years and made friends with Kartana. But what about the other example, Guzzlords? In Guzzlord's world, there is one man. He and the scenery of the world have led people to believe that this is an alternate Heoli city. But you guys know, you can't have that with me. Let's fix that mistake. Let's say that, just like the ones in Kartana's area, humans accidentally entered the UB world. Eventually, multiple people met up in this one area that they were unaware was meant for Guzzlord. It was a lush field with lots of trees containing food, and Guzzlord was not around. So, the humans, being humans, decided to work together to make their own city inspired by Heoli City. Eventually, they succeeded, but Guzzlord returned. But, like implied in the games, he was not the one who destroyed the city. Their faulty power plant did. The humans dispersed from the area, and with no one around, Guzzlord returned to his area to scavenge. And then, of course, 500 years before the games, Magearna was made by a genius for a king. After years of wear and tear, her paint came off and she went into hiding. Now, that's all the legendaries, but there are 2 more subjects I want to talk about. This one's a quick one. Let's explain the Ultra Warp Ride. The game wants you to believe that you're flying hundreds upon thousands of light years, and somehow that equals going into another dimension. None of that sounds remotely right. So it's already been established that the 2 UB worlds are in fact different dimensions. Let's say the Ultra Space Wilds are not. If Solgaleo and Lunala can teleport to another dimension, why not say that they are just using their powers to teleport to a different region? I mean, it doesn't explain why every region has the same cliffs and caves, but it's a better explanation than you broke the laws of physics in a fantasy game. Now, the last subject is an explanation to a thing that legitimately pisses me off, and it is the most bullshit thing Game Freak has ever put into their games. Team Rainbow Rocket. Fuck this group. Rainbow Rocket is fanfiction bullshit that shouldn't exist. Mainly because this isn't fucking fanfiction. Why? Why are there AUs in a main series Pokemon game? Whose idea was this and why weren't they fired? Rainbow Rocket was not a good idea, and I can only hope Game Freak regrets it in due time. God knows they should regret it more than Mega Evolution. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Let's explain that shit. So instead of all these assholes being from fucking AUs, there's a much simpler reason that was staring Game Freak in the face the whole time. Giovanni, and all of them for that matter, come from the normal game dimension. After having disappeared from the public for years, it is revealed that Giovanni was actually going from region to region asking all of the organization leaders who failed to form an alliance with him. At first, Archie and Maxie said no. Then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire happened, they failed again, Giovanni asked them again, and both of them agreed. Giovanni asked Getsis, he agreed. Giovanni asked Lysander, and he agreed. To get into the spirit of things, the others donned their old uniforms, which is why Getsis, Archie, and Maxie look different. Giovanni then made it to Alola after hearing about the powerful Legendaries. When he met Faba, Faba let him take over the Aether Foundation. Then, with his scientific prowess, Faba opened a portal to the Distortion World and boom, Cyrus was there. With all of their power, they were able to find, steal, or make their own Master Balls, go to the different regions, and secretly capture the Legendaries. Anytime they are implying they are from another dimension, they're simply pulling it out of their asses. They're probably in denial and projecting their wishes for what happened to them. I mean, let's be real here. If half of the people there won in their own world, they shouldn't be alive. If Maxie won, there would be no water and he would have dehydrated to death. If Archie won, he would have flooded the earth and drowned. If Cyrus won, there would be no world. And if Lysander won, no one would be alive. So either they're pulling everything out of their asses, or Game Freak fucked up. So there's my theory on basically everything in Alola. But what do you think? Did you like this theory? Did you hate it? Leave what you think in the comments, and if you liked it, spread the word and also give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. Anyways, I'm VG Master 2, and I hope to see you next time.